The point which we are telling here that yes, it is important to go through to ranking, but whether this ranking has caused us in a different way, whether the universities are just trying to focus only on the paper churning, which has no use. We know from the Indian context that research was neglected initially long by the university administration or faculty because it does not impact their funding. Now, we know also that the rise in the pressure to publish have resulted in rising of the predictory journals and other unethical practices. And that's why even in December 2020, UGC has started mandate paper for the PhD student, that is research and publication ethics, that we should know at least that what is research and publication ethics. It is important. So what structural changes can these universities leaders make? You are a leader, you are leading a university. We have a prominent speaker guest here, Professor Vajpayee, also, who has a long list of experiences. If I'll start reading his experiences, even half an hour will be not sufficient. So what structural changes can universities leaders make within their institutions to overcome this dilemma? I would like to request Professor G.S. Vajpayee to put forward some point on this, that what specific structural changes can university leaders can make to enlighten their faculty members so that they publish, but they also did not impact their funding. They did not also pressurize to publish in predictory journals. So I would like to request Professor G.S. Vajpayee to put forward his point.
Thank you, Professor Pandey, and good afternoon to all present. Actually, there are very compelling questions which you have raised, and I would start from the basic premise. Your ranking becomes relevant to the extent you understand the idea of an university. We have traveled a long journey from being a very primitive kind of institution in this country to become a very liberalized institution. So whether the ranking is doing justice with us or not is something very important. The things which I am going to speak on or speak about, I have relied two very powerfully written articles by Professor Abhijit Pathak. When he wrote a couple of months ago, Obsession with the Ranking, he was essentially talking about ranking and branding. Now, ranking and branding, as if we are probably dealing with an industry who is selling the products. The universities are not the industries, and we are not selling the products. Therefore, the core concern remains, as far as ranking is concerned, is the obsession with the ranking that goes on because it stimulates our egos. It activates our war instinct. It encourages brand consciousness and promotes the rapidly growing publication industry which you are talking about. But the problem is the manner in which the ranking framework has been set up. Your first question was the aspects of ranking. Mainly, we have created a framework which is numerically dominated. And here, Abhijit Pathak also says mathematics trumps, and nuanced ways of seeing the specificity of a learning community disappear. And therefore, he says at some place that if IIT Delhi is ranking, is scoring 86.76 and Banaras Hindu University is scoring 63.10. What does it mean? Does it give any idea? Does it compare anything? And very interesting thing which I would say, when he says that we have actually created a situation where we are only talking about some numericals. So paper per faculty, citation per paper, publication in international journals, and we have actually we have created a smart set of professors who believe in branding and who can probably, they are smart professors because they know how to publish. And the number of publication is increasing. In fact, qualitatively, they are not contributing. Professor Khosla and Professor Vivekananda was indicating about the creation of knowledge. Who cares? And you tell me where in any ranking framework, where the originality of ideas, where the creation of knowledge is tested. I'm telling you, you can measure what you can actually measure. You cannot measure what you can't measure. There are a lot of things which are subjective and qualitative in nature, and qualitative in terms of so many things. So university ought to have a soul. Now, when I say university ought to have a soul or a spirit that nurtures the joy of learning and unlearning, it should encourage the experiment with truth, celebrates the academic and cultural pluralism, and above all, it should be a reflective, critical, emancipatory thinking. It should encourage. So, in fact, that spirit has been killed over the years because we have probably uh, we have driven our faculty to churn out the papers as many as you can without realizing. Now you tell me, a IIT university or NIT, they will attract a different type of employability and employer attention. But liberal art, cultural anthropology, they will not. So, do you think that they can be relatively superior or inferior? In fact, the problem is with the very methodology. I am not against ranking, but I am against the methodology of ranking. If you are at all putting the ranking, you are creating a hierarchy of institutions on false belief and false parameters. I have written a very powerful article in Hindu a couple of months ago where I have demonstrated, you can see this article available in public domain, where I have shown that a university is acquiring 100% public perception score in NIF ranking framework. However, they are not getting good number of students. How come this happened? If your perception is 100% and your admission rate is just 30%, and I'm telling you, there is a my problem is, I'll come to those structural change which you have asked. We need to create those structural changes. We should create the avenues to think original knowledge, create serious research. It may not be too many in number. We are counting the number. My problem is counting number is a bad idea. If you go back to the idea of university, the fantastic book written. In that book, they are talking about the creation of knowledge in a very different way. I'll give you a very simple illustration where in, say, for instance, in Indian ranking framework that is called the NIRF, there is a huge amount of data fuzzing. I have written this. And I'm seeing that the universities are using the same set of data. So suppose my university has to be ranked, and I am a university with multi-faculty. So I mean, on all the faculties, there is a different set of resources available. I am pooling all the resources and showing it in law faculty. Again, I am showing it in management faculty. So when you are ranked in management, your number is one. When you are ranked in law, your number will remain. This is happening. You can see this is in public domain. My problem is that university, the qualitative aspects of ranking, the philosophical enjoyment of learning, critical pedagogy that matters. Now I'll give you a final example and probably I'll close. I'll tell you. So for instance, no ranking framework at any place in the world takes care of the quality of teaching. You are talking about quality of research, but teachers are appointed mainly to teach the class, and they are not being assessed on the quality of teaching. You are not appointing teacher to do primarily research, but you are measuring the research. You are appointing teachers to teach, but you are not measuring the quality of teaching. So I think structural changes are needed within the universities which are teaching centric, and they take pride of nurturing the generation by quality teaching. They should be given a lot of space in ranking. I don't know how this can be done, but I'm sure methodological changes are needed within the structure of the institutions who are responsible for that, to be able to really give a right kind of, because we are unnecessarily creating a hierarchy of institutions. I'm against this hierarchy. Knowledge cannot be, created in this manner. Knowledge cannot be sort of created in a hierarchical manner. So I think I will stop here, and if you have other things, I can.
Well covered, Professor Vajpayee. You are absolutely highlighted at the nail point that yes, there's need to reform. And there's a question for you also from the audience that what role can accrediting bodies and the government agencies play in shaping the ranking metrics and education governance policies in the public universities of India?
if I again continue to add, I would say,
Yeah, this question for you. The question is that what is the role role can this accreditation bodies and the government agencies play in shaping the ranking metrics and education governance policies of the public universities in India?
so I have said, Mr. Pandey, that two things are very important. First of all, we need to actually start appointing the research faculty and teaching faculty little differently. If you want a research intensive university, you appoint researcher, but teaching has to be done. And in the governance structure, it has been just mentioned that leaders have to be appointed very carefully. There is the system of the appointment of leadership in best of the best university is very flawed. I think we need to revisit it. And I am saying we need to create the policies which are commensurate with the demands that we have today. So on the one hand, we have market driven demands. Fine, you can allocate some portion of your functioning to satisfy that requirement. But you should not forget the fundamental objective of the institution of university. So I think a lot of changes, accreditation body, that's what I'm saying. You are giving A++, you are giving, I think the parameters and the indicators of a university have to be widely debated and discussed. That is my suggestion.
Absolutely fine, Professor. Your point is very valid here. It seems that because the faculty members are usually expected to teach as well as do research. At a university may a higher ranking on research, but do these high ranking research translate into higher quality of the teaching practices? You have highlighted very well that what type of intensive structure can be created here for the systems in order to increase the quality of research as well as quality of teaching, because that's matter.